AITA for not defending my friend when my fiancé was mean to her. My fiancé, Zaira, and I went out with a friend group last night. There was kinda a pick-me girl in the group constantly making a joke on Zaira. She couldn't hold it in and took it back to the girl. Now some told me to be rude for not stopping my fiancé. I 26 months have been engaged to my fiancé Zaira, 26 years old, for 6 months now. We were friends in high school and only started dating when we were around 22. We were close in high school. We were in the same friend group, but drifted apart and reconnected in uni, so it's safe to say I do know her really well. She's a kind person most of the time. However, she knows how to cut deep when the situation warrants it. I've witnessed it at times, and she can make people cry. So one of my friend groups mostly consists of gamers. I don't hang out with them in person that much because I'm not very social and prefer spending time with my fiancé. Even during calls, I'm mostly muted or don't talk, but I do enjoy their company. I guess I'm just shy. My friends know I have a fiancé, and they invited her out with us last night. There are girls in our friend group, like 2 of them, and this other girl in our group who can be a bit of a pick-me girl. I'll call her Emma. She gets along well with the rest of us, but sometimes she can be a bit annoying. So last night we all went out to dinner, and the other 2 girls and my girl were getting along really well. They really hit it off until Emma joined us later in the evening. She started making passive-aggressive, backhanded comments to Zaira, who entirely just rolled her eyes and laughed, but I told Emma to stop because I didn't want the night to end with someone crying. She took this as a joke, but stopped messing with Zaira for a while, and then she started up again. I think she was trying make my fiancé insecure or jealous or something, but Emma kept saying how close we are because we game. Zaira knows I'm not close with her because every time I play with them, she is either in my lap or right next to me watching me play. Emma told Zaira not to worry about her because she wasn't going to take me away from her. Zaira smiled at her, and I knew the night was over. She looked Emma up and down and said, "You, take him from me? Good luck." Emma tried defending herself and brushing it off as a joke, but Zaira just kind of let loose, I guess. She called Emma a pathetic excuse of a woman and asked if she needs male validation that desperately, or if she's actually deluded enough to think she, Emma, is more important than her, Zaira, in my life. Among other things. I'm not going to lie, I do kind of think it's hot when she gets like this, so I just sat by and watched, and Emma started crying and we left after she said thank you to the rest of my friends. The girls in my group have been messaging me and saying I should have stopped Zaira and maybe not have let her be so rude, and Emma has gone radio silent. My other friends think Zaira is justified, and I do too, but did she take it too far and should I have stopped her? AITA? Relevant comments. Commenter. NTA. Emma said things that were inappropriate. She was told to stop, but she didn't. There was nothing funny about what she said. The girls in my group have been messaging me and saying I should have stopped Zaira, who tried to stop Emma. Commenter replied a previous comment. It's right in OP's story. He told Emma to stop. Yeah, OP said they like when Zaira gets assertive. OP admits they're shy. Maybe she balances him. Emma had been told to stop and tolerated beyond that. Zaira stepped up to put an end to it. Nothing wrong with enjoying an assertive partner. Story 2. IBTA. If I talked back to my boyfriend's mom, need advice. So I, 21F, have been with my boyfriend, 21M, for almost 3 years now. He is an amazing person who is so patient, kind, and understanding, and I am so lucky to have him in my life. When we first started dating, he prefaced by saying he has a bit of a rough family dynamic, especially with his mom. We were both 18 when we got together, and I met his mom not long after making things official. The introduction was standard until about 30 seconds in when she asked if I was on birth control. Obviously, I was taken aback because I haven't had to talk to my parents about birth control since I was 16 years old, let alone someone else's mother. I told her I have had my IUD since I was 16, and it certainly wasn't going anywhere. After the initial introduction, not much happened for a few months, but to get into that, we need a little bit of setup. Going forward, boyfriend's name is Max, and his mother is Karen. So original, I know. Max was in an advanced program that allowed him to get the majority of his associate's degree by the time he graduated high school. After graduation, he went down to a small college known for their fast-track programs and low tuition costs. He quickly realized that completing his associates online was the best thing to do, so he moved back in with his mom. This is around the time we got together. Now, our family homes were 45 minutes away from each other, and I lived in a slightly bigger town, so he would often come and visit me. There were many times throughout that first summer together that we would go to his side of the area and spend our time outside, but when it was rainy or cold, we would go to his mom's place. Keep in mind, he was paying her rent at this time. After the third time of us coming to the house, she asked us both to come upstairs to talk. She sat us down and told us how uncomfortable it made her that we were locked downstairs together all the time, and that she didn't know what we were doing or if we were being safe about it. Needless to say, my jaw almost hit the floor. Now, I have traditional conservative parents, but never in a million years would they sit me and my adult boyfriend down and talk to us like we're in a middle school sex ed class. I just stayed quiet, and thankfully Max lost his shit on her for being inappropriate in 15 different ways. It became obvious to me at this point that she still feels the need to have intense control over Max's life, but only when she decides to care. Fast forward to last year, and it was time for Max to graduate from his program after months and years of unpaid clinicals and hard work. Karen had gone on her power trips on a pretty much monthly basis for the past year and a half, but I continued to keep my mouth shut and be respectful. The night before we had to drive down for the ceremony, Karen lost her mind on us for the bottle of champagne we had been gifted. Now, I will say that she is a recovered alcoholic, and she has every right to limit her exposure to her vices, and Max and I go out of our way to make sure she does not know when alcohol is around. Now, you may be wondering why we didn't do that with the champagne. We did. She searched his room and found it. The room he pays to be in. The room his mother has charged him $500 a month to live in for nearly 2 years. Her finding the bottle led to another power trip, where she again directly disrespected me and our relationship. This fight led to him initially uninviting her from the ceremony, but I convinced him that he would want her there, especially because his dad was unable to make it due to an emergency. The ceremony ends. Max starts working in a hospital in the town I live in, and unbeknownst to me, she begins increasing his rent by $100 a month. In January, he paid $600, February $700, until April when I got home from college and Karen's girlfriend moved in with them. Max had come over for the weekend, and when he got home, his mom handed him a note and left. The note detailed how she needed him to move out by Mother's Day, and how she loves him so much, but living together has made their relationship tense. Completely fair, if he wasn't paying rent, and if it wasn't 2024 in a rapidly growing picturesque town where the cheapest rent is $1,500 for a building that will catch on fire 6 months into your lease. She left him with absolutely nowhere to go, and so my parents offered to let him live with us until he could find a place. The summer started great, and Max decided to go visit her on her birthday. While he was there, he called me sobbing because his mother told him this. Paraphrased, but you get the point. I know it was tough having to leave, but I just need some time apart from you to decide whether or not I want you in my life. You know you don't have to stay with OP just because she's giving you a place to stay. I know she's a lot to handle. He ended up leaving soon after, and was completely shut down for 3 days afterwards. I don't even care about what this monster says to me about me anymore, but she is the most vile, disgusting, pig-headed bitch I've ever met, who somehow created 3 of the most hardworking, intelligent, empathetic human beings on the face of the earth. Her children are all doing amazing things, and she didn't do shit to help them, but continues to tear them apart every chance she gets. This woman is a behavioral psychologist with the school system. She somehow has a master's degree in psych, and yet is so dense, she doesn't see that she is the focus of the case studies she spent 6 years learning about. She works with children with disabilities each day, and yet can't show an ounce of kindness to any one of her kids. I haven't seen her in person since the graduation fiasco, but I am not going anywhere. Max and I are staying together. We know how to communicate with each other perfectly. We were solid while living together for 4 months, and unless one of us suddenly becomes a horrible person, I'll be with him for the rest of my life. But I cannot hold my tongue anymore, and if this Babadook-looking fuck says one more thing about her son or any of her children, I will rip into her without meaning to. She is not deserving of my respect, but she is still Max's mom, and I really don't want to cause an issue between us when that has yet to happen. IDK. I guess I'm more asking for ways to go about this. Do I just continue to hold my tongue until I just snap one day and end up on the news? Do I say something controlled? Do I just continue to avoid her for as long as possible? She's not my confirmed future mother-in-law yet, but if things continue as they are, she will be in a couple of years. I know this was a bit messy, but it's such a large amount of time to cover. So comment if you want additional info, any answers to questions, relevant comments. Commenter, WNBTA. But the solution starts with Max. His mom probably is not going to take your insight seriously until he stands up for himself. She's already shown how little respect she has for you and y'all's relationship, and this needs to be made clearer to Max. If I were you, I'd communicate to Max that you can't tolerate hearing anything more about her, let alone dealing with her after the disrespect she's shown, and that if there's any relationship to salvage, it'll need to start with some respect. Hell, she doesn't even respect Max enough to let him grow up, and her solution to that was kicking him out on the streets. I wouldn't expect much reason. OP. That's what makes this so tricky. Max has fully been on my side and knows how uncomfortable being around her makes me now. He actively talks back to her every time she goes on her power trips. I think the hardest part is that he wants to fix their relationship, and she just keeps pushing him away, even when she's the one who created the divide. I'm obviously not a professional, but the fact that I haven't seen her act like a mother once in the 3 years we've been together makes me wonder if she feels a connection to them at all. She truly does display narcissistic tendencies, and I've never seen her put someone else above herself for anything, so that makes it harder to get the point across rationally as well. He has told me he wouldn't be upset with me if I yelled back at her once, but I feel like if he actually sees me yelling at his mother, it might alter his view of me. Commenter, very tricky. It seems like he's okay with you fighting back because he feels helpless. Like you said, she's the one pushing everyone away, so no point in trying to convince her otherwise. I doubt he would view you differently for fighting back because he's had to for so long, so don't hold back the truth. Good luck, though. It's hard trying to help someone who doesn't want to be helped. Story 3. AIO for asking husband to cut contact with a coworker. Early this year, I found out my 34F husband, 36M of 3 years, was messaging a female coworker behind my back. While it was not sexual that I could tell, it was flirtatious and very emotionally intimate. He was texting her more often than he would talk to me over text and in person. To me, it felt like he was giving her the attention that should be given to me as his partner. She knew more about how he was feeling than I did. Anytime I'd try to strengthen our marriage with activities, conversations, etc., he would shoot me down and seem uninterested. If I asked why he couldn't text me more, he'd say he was too busy at work, but he was able to text her throughout his workday. When I found their texts, it was a gut punch. Everything I had been asking of him emotionally, he was giving to someone else. I confronted him about it, and he said she was just a friend. I asked why I had never heard of her if she was such a good friend, and he wouldn't answer. When I brought up the inappropriateness of the messages, kissy faces, etc., he apologized and said he didn't think I'd find out. I understand that this wasn't technically cheating, but it still hurt me more than it should have. I asked him to please cut contact with her since it made me uncomfortable, and I asked him to see a therapist, which he never did. He asked if he could still text her as a friend, memes, jokes, etc., and I told him no. I really didn't want this woman in his life at all as a temptation. He agreed to both and kept apologizing, saying that he messed up. He kept promising that he would become the husband I need emotionally. For the past couple of weeks, I felt like something was off again. While things got a little better and he was putting in more effort to communicate, he was still distant and not willing to do more to regain my trust. A few days ago, I went through his deleted texts and saw that he was still messaging her. To say I was devastated is an understatement. I confronted him again, and he got upset and said that they were just friends and that he didn't tell me because he knew I'd get upset. He said that she called him a few weeks ago asking if they could still be friends, but I don't believe it. I gave him an ultimatum. If their friendship was more important than our marriage, then I would happily divorce him. He said our marriage was more important and that he would never do this again. I asked if we could call her so that I could get some sort of clarification on if they were talking this entire time, or if she really did reach out recently, but he said he didn't want to drag her into this. He also said he wasn't sure if she would spread gossip around his workplace if I called her. So, am I overreacting? I know this might come off as controlling. I wouldn't take it lightly if he asked me to cut off a friend, but our marriage is falling apart and I'm struggling to trust him. Top comments. Commenter: this is cheating. It is an emotional affair. He is putting more time into another woman than his wife. He is telling her things he doesn't tell you. He never cut it off, and it seems he doesn't plan to. She is more important to him than you are. If he wanted to make it work, he would cut contact, find a new job, and go to counseling. He hasn't done that. Seems to me he gave you your answer and where you stand in his life. The question is, do you want to continue to be with someone who cheats and disrespects you? Edit: he also hid it because he knew what he was doing was wrong. I wouldn't be surprised if they were communicating through other apps, and honestly, if they are together every day, it may also be a physical affair. Commenter: nor he's already lying and sneaking around on you to keep communication with someone he already sees at work 5 days a week. And his defense is, he didn't think you'd find out. Keep an eye on your phone bill to see how often calls, texts are happening. You can typically see outgoing, incoming, so you can gauge who's initiating. Give him a timeline for therapy because he already agreed to it. I would also discuss him looking for a different job if he's serious. He's lied and betrayed your trust twice for another person. Commenter: if you feel it in your gut, he must be doing it again. They will end up cheating. Watch and see. He said he didn't want you to find out. You would be upset. Right there, he's telling you he would cheat with her. Good luck. Update PLZ. Thank you so much for watching until the end. If you enjoyed our videos, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to stay updated with our latest one. Have a great day.